You're tuning into Black and White Sports on YouTube. The no-holds-barred truth on sports. The main event starts now.
All right, guys, finally, the Tokyo, aka the Wokyo Olympics, are in the book. And this was an absolute disaster for NBC Sports as they televised these Olympics. And boy, the TV ratings for this utter woke disaster is a disaster. I mean, guys, the numbers that are coming in, and we don't have the final numbers. This is a telltale sign that the Olympics are probably in real trouble in the future if they keep going down the woke road. When you think of these Olympics, what comes to mind? What comes to mind first and foremost to me is the political protests, the protests in general. Not just the Americans, there were other athletes from other countries as well. But since I live in America, we're going to focus on America. These athletes that went over there and participated in these Olympics, a lot of these guys just completely disrespected this country and they didn't perform well. And people tune out when athletes do not respect the country. So guys, we're going to be diving into all of that, folks, in this video. But first, here's a message from today's sponsor. Friends, let's face it, the future of America is looking worse each day. Those who are observant have the feeling that something really bad is going to happen soon. If it does, are you prepared? Do you have enough food, water, and other essentials to get you through tough times? If not, check out My Patriots Supply. They're the nation's #1 preparedness company, and they've served millions of American families. Right now, you can save 25% off their popular 4-week emergency food kit, which will keep you well fed with 4 weeks worth of breakfast, lunch, dinner, drinks, and snacks, totaling over 2,000 calories a day. This food stays fresh for up to 25 years in proper storage, so it will be there when you need it. In fact, you may need it a lot sooner than that. So don't wait. Go to preparewithblackandwhite.com and claim your 4-week emergency food kit. You'll save 25% if you act now. That's preparewithblackandwhite.com. Don't wait. Do it today. All right, so this article here is from a few days ago, and this is on Deadline. It says Tokyo Olympics viewership and ratings hit new lows as games final days loom. Now, this was written on August the 6th, and of course, this is August the 8th right here. A disaster is happening at the Olympics, folks. Viewership for the NBC's coverage of the 2020 Tokyo Olympics continued to fall as Thursday evening delivered both the lowest rated and least watched day. Per overnight numbers, NBC's Thursday night coverage aired to 10.4 million viewers and earned a 2.1 rating in the 18 to 49 demo. Thursday's numbers fell below last Friday and last Saturday, which first marked the showing with the smallest audience and lowest ratings, respectively. Thursday saw a 35% drop in viewership and fell 1.5 in ratings from the previous week, which was the second best performing night. Viewership for the 2020 Tokyo Olympics is about half of what the 2016 Rio Olympics brought in and nearly a third of the London Games viewers. Given the new lows, it's worth noting that the 2020 Tokyo Olympics has just 3 more nights, including Friday. And as of right now, guys, we know it is completely over with. Primetime eyes weren't only on the Olympics on Thursday, as Fox aired its coverage of the NFL Hall of Fame, which ran from 8 p.m. to 11 p.m. Fox followed closely behind NBC, which has dominated primetime since the start of the Olympics, averaging a 2.0 and 7.13 million viewers. Now, we know that the Hall of Fame game, the ratings for that were pretty high. It was. But let's go over here to Fox News. It says NBC sees worst case scenario as the Olympics ratings plunge amid woke protests. And guys, this is the main talking point right here. We know that these woke athletes out there that were protesting, that turns off the viewers. Nobody wants to see Megan Rapinoe kneeling before matches. Nobody wants to see Raven Saunders throwing up in nets. Nobody wants to see Gwen Berry, and Gwen Berry didn't even medal. At least Raven Saunders and Megan Rapinoe, they did medal, so they can do that little protest or whatever. In the case of Raven Saunders, she actually did it on the podium. But Gwen Berry, she performed pretty pathetic. And the talking point for her the whole time was not about her performance, but about protesting. It says here, NBC is giving advertisers who bought airtime during the Tokyo Olympics extra commercials due to underwhelming ratings for this year's 2020 Olympics, fueled by a pandemic-weary population and backlash against woke athletes protesting the U.S. flag and national anthem. NBC Sports Chairman Pete Bavecchio insisted to the Associated Press that the network would still make money on the 2020 Olympics, but left out details about how much. NBC's primetime coverage of the Tokyo Olympics on July 26 averaged 14.7 million viewers, for a 49% drop compared to the equivalent night from the 2016 Rio de Janeiro Games and 53% less than the 2012 London Olympics. The opening ceremonies saw their lowest viewership since 1998. Guys, that falls right in line with what Deadline actually said here when they said the ratings were about half of what it was in Rio. And you see there, Megan Rapinoe kneeling. Woke protests leads to this kind of thing. Variety senior TV editor Brian Steinberg wrote that the drop has spurred advertiser anxiety, which hasn't been eased by the news that legendary American gymnast Simone Biles withdrew from team competition and fan favorite Naomi Osaka was eliminated from the tennis medal competition. He quoted a media buying executive who said the early viewership numbers clearly are not what NBC, our agency, or our clients were looking for from costly investment. Quote, when you look at the numbers, it's hard to be pleased with them. Andy Billings, director of the sports communications program at the University of Alabama, told the AP. It's probably NBC's worst case scenario, but it's probably a worst case scenario that they would have been able to predict months ago. Well, when you have all these athletes out there talking about, going over there and protesting, yeah, you should actually see this coming. Viewership has lagged behind the Rio coverage by roughly half on numerous nights of this year's competition. And woke protests by American athletes condemning the U.S. or national anthem have done little to attract new viewers while alienating Republican spectators, according to Patrick Murray, director of the Monmouth University Polling Institute in New Jersey. The lingering effects of the coronavirus pandemic have also taken a toll. Now, I'm not going to use the pandemic. I'm tired of hearing that excuse right there. Okay? If you want to watch TV, all you have to do is flip on the TV. That's all you need to do. It's pretty much free. You don't have to go out and interact with people. If you have a TV, you can turn it on and watch the Olympics. But we know why people were not watching the Olympics. They're tired of the woke protests and things like that, and athletes being un-American. It goes on. It says, last week, the university published a poll that found a third fewer Americans were interested in watching the games. A whopping 43% of respondents said they had little interest in watching compared to just 16% who had a lot. And while 55% of Americans felt it was a good idea to hold the postponed 2020 games this year, 36% said it wasn't. Quote, the Olympic spirit is a bit dampened this year, Murray said. The delay from last year and the lack of spectators have taken the edge off the typical anticipation and excitement for this event. But the emergence of Black Lives Matter in the sports world has also led to a backlash among some Americans. Absolutely. And it says here, not all athletes have protested the flag, The woke women's soccer team had to settle for bronze last week, but the U.S. men's basketball team took gold, and star Kevin Durant derided the media critics by telling one to, quote, act like you're an American. And that's funny coming from Kevin Durant, who's in the marches in China, because last year in that bubble, they were kneeling for Black Lives Matter during the playing of the national anthem. They were being very much un-American. Now, we know that Kevin Durant wasn't actually in that bubble because he was injured, but these players on Team USA were doing that in the bubble, and the NBA really has not recovered a whole lot. And I'm pretty sure a lot of people were not watching them represent the country in the Olympics. Unreal. But what do you guys think of this? What do you guys think of these woke athletes actually going over there and protesting and hurting the TV ratings for the Olympics? I mean, why couldn't more athletes actually be like Tamira Mensah Stock, who actually was celebrating and proud to be an American as she won the gold at the Olympics? Guys, woke sports is never going to learn this lesson, it seems. These athletes still do not get it, that people do not want to watch them protest. People and Americans, for the most part, have rejected woke sports. Every single sports league that got woke and started doing the BLM thing, their ratings took a hit. It did. And guys, it's just going to continue to go down if this continues. So we'll have to see what happens with Paris in 2024. Maybe it'll only get worse, but these athletes are going to have to start being patriotic to their country, and just maybe people may tune into Paris in 2024. That's just my thoughts on this. What do you guys think of this? Black and white sports fans, let us know what you think about all this in the comments. Make sure you subscribe to Black and White Sports, and we'll catch you next time.
Thanks for watching the show. Be sure to like, comment, and subscribe. Be sure to tune in next time on Black and White Sports.